Hello, Twinsies podcast time. Happy morning. Good day to you.
Episode 59? I believe it's 59.
I think so. Yeah,
We're bad at that.
it's a day from Halloween, folks. So we're not gonna talk about Halloween today. We've already talked about that. Although I saw the person that won Halloween for the year. It was on Twitter, and it's this little girl. She's probably 5. She's walking around, and her head sticks out of like this dress, and then she's headless up top, so it looks like it's holding her head. And then people were sticking candy in her neck hole. It was cracking me up. It was a really good costume. It was just on Twitter. It just said like I don't know, something like Halloween's canceled. Oh man.
In other relevant news, the Boston Red Sox are the World Series champions of 2018. Yeah. Thoughts?
I didn't watch any
Feelings,
World Series. I don't know why. I just was like baseballed out.
It seemed like at least in my circle, a very climactic World Series. I watched one game, and it was the extra inning game. I didn't even finish it because it was past my bedtime. But I'm glad the Dodgers didn't win because I don't really like Manny Machado.
No, he's awful. He's just like proven that, like, hey world, here I am on the big stage. You know, my team was on track to lose 115 games, and I got traded away, and here I'm on a good team, but I'm going to show everyone how awful I am.
Right. And, like, there was obviously that whole incident where you, like, hit Aguilar's foot on the base, but someone put together, like, a supercut of all, like, the worst Manny Machado moments from, not just on the Dodgers, but, like, with the Orioles and everything. He's just a really scummy dude. Like, when it's, like, sliding into second base, like, all that kind of stuff. He's just the worst.
Yeah, apparently that's his reputation, so, all right, dude.
One of my least favorite ones was there's a play where, I think he was with the Orioles, and he was at second, running to third. There's a ground ball to Oakland A's third baseman, who I think was Donaldson at the time. I can't remember. And he, like, feels the ground ball, and Manny Machado kind of, like, runs to avoid the tag, so he kind of, like, punches him in the chest, kind of, just, like, kind of slaps him. And Machado, like, falls over and tries to throw his helmet at him, but he, like, missed, and he spiked it in the ground.
I remember that, yeah.
And Donaldson was just like, what? Like, it wasn't even that hard of a tag. He's just, like, a diva. It was very embarrassing for him.
Yeah, that ball hits the wall where you got a single out of it, and, like, game one on the road, that was so bad. It's like, dude, you know when it's out, if it's not, like, for sure just destroyed, then, like, just run. Just go to the second base. Don't
Go to the second base.
Yeah, I don't understand.
There was another one where he got thrown at, sort of, kind of, and then the next pitch, it was a ball kind of down, and he, like, pretended to swing at it. He tried to throw his bat at the pitcher, but, like, wasn't good at it, and then threw it at, like, the third baseman. It was pretty funny. He's really bad at throwing things, apparently, that aren't baseballs. The problem is he's really good at baseball, so...
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the free agent market plays out.
But outside of that, there was another World Series All-Star who has a bald head and a beard, so I'm getting a lot of Halloween costume suggestions.
Good. He was
David
also
Ross,
a
couple years ago.
former Oriole, yeah.
It's interesting. Holiday.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of comparisons to be drawn.
Yeah, so we're almost through Thanksgiving, or Halloween. We're done with baseball season, officially.
Yes.
So it's now, like, sailing into Thanksgiving, turkey and stuffing and
Turkey and stuffing and pumpkins and...
then the most important holiday of the year, our birthday.
Right.
And then I guess Jesus' birthday can come after that. Or present day, whatever.
Dan will use first, Jesus second.
Yeah. And then New Year's.
Recapping all the holidays?
This is what's going to happen. And I think shortly thereafter, Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday in January.
Mm-hmm. I think so.
And then
Abraham Lincoln's in February.
Spring. Wait, there's Easter. Yep.
Easter is
and then 4th of July. Then we just start this rodeo all over again. So in case you need a recap of the year's holidays, you now have it.
Thank you, Dan.
You now have it, yeah.
Well, this brings up a conversation I was having with someone, actually, when I was watching that World Series game. Because like you said, baseball just ended, and it's October 30th.
Yeah.
And Major League Baseball, have been playing since April, and Children's have been playing since March. high school children's, which begged the question from this person, why so much baseball? Like, why fall baseball for high school players and maybe even college players? And my comment to him was, and also, why so much? I think Major League Baseball season's too long. Like, I don't care about the first 40 games. I don't care about May baseball, really. And so he was kind of weird. This is a conversation between myself, a strength coach, a sports psychologist, and a biomechanist. So it was a very interesting discussion, but their thing was like, why, clearly we know overuse is like why people get hurt. So like, why is fall baseball even a thing? And I was like, I don't know. And I was like, this would be an interesting topic to bring up to Dan in the Twinsies podcast. So I guess we'll start very vague with your thoughts on, and I know there's so many ways you can take this, but your thoughts on like fall baseball for high school baseball players. Like baseball in September and October.
I don't know. I hated it personally as a kid, so it's hard for me not to have like a really bitter taste about it. I don't know why. I just like never liked my coaches. I never liked the other players. It was just like this weird short league where you like don't know anyone, but you don't have enough time to like bond with them.
How was yours formatted? Because mine was like we played a doubleheader on Sundays.
I really can't remember, but I do think it was probably. I think I had at least one midweek game, but I don't really remember.
Yeah, that's what I didn't like about it is
It was in stupid Forest Hill.
Yeah,
Forest
gross.
Hill, Maryland. Shut up!
I hate Forest Hill.
I'm from Bel Air, and Forest Hill was just like weird.
What's the Forest Hills deal? What are they known for?
I don't know.
Pancakes?
I don't know. My friend Andrew's getting married and grew up in Forest Hill. And he thought he was a tiger until he was like 6 years old. I mean, dude, you're a human being. Like, don't
growl
at people. Don't growl at people.
I thought he used to growl at people and draw stripes on his face?
Probably wasn't until 5 or 6. Probably to like 2. He really liked tigers as a kid. But Forest Hill? I don't know. Anyway. So I had to play fall ball in stupid Forest Hill, and I hated it.
Yeah. I always hated like the 2 games on a Sunday and a week off in between. It was just like trying to learn the game of baseball every week. Like, it's way too long in between games.
And it just like smells weird in the fall.
Smelly fall. It's cold.
And I think for me, part of it was like the Sunday effect. We've talked about this in numerous podcasts where you just like, on Sunday, you just can't feel the same as you do on Saturday because you go back to school in the next morning.
Okay, this is weird. Have you seen, there's a commercial that's basically been popping up on my YouTube from Tim and Eric that they're called the Purple Boys. They sell furniture and they sell beds, and their whole thing is to help you avoid the Sunday scaries, which are what you're talking about, where you get like depressed on a Sunday because you know that you have like an upcoming work week, and so they call them the Sunday scaries.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. I've seen those purple beds, but I've never. They want to sell
Purple
you that
Boys.
seat cushion. Oh no! One of our pieces of foam fell down from our wall.
It's exposing us as frauds.
Oh man. Our foam wall looks pretty good. If you're listening in audio land, we got these little squares of foam, and we got them from eBay.
But the question is, can we finish this podcast before all of these
fall down like fall leaves?
Yeah, that's a metaphor.
Yeah,
in there somewhere.
But we used double-sided carpet tape to stick them to the wall instead of
as you do.
Actual like 3M whatever tape to the wall. And I guess it's just not sticking that well. That stuff is super sticky.
It's the stickiest.
It's super sticky, but it's just like not grabbing the foam that well.
It's the same tape that we have securing our rubber flooring to the ground in the gym, and it's like, that stuff will never come up.
Yeah, but really no go for foam.
Yep.
So, I don't know. Fall ball is...
Does it serve a purpose?
I mean, you can play more baseball, I guess.
What about
so if you want at bats and you like need to take ground balls and throw them to first base, then you can do that.
Here's my thing is like, as far as fall baseball, just like the rec league fall baseball, like I think that's largely pointless, and not really a big fan of it. If one of our kids does it, we're not gonna pull them out, but it's just like, it's not really necessary. What about like, because I'll host showcases in the fall too. What is the purpose of the fall showcase?
I think to make money.
Yeah,
for colleges.
But like, does it have value for maybe like a unsigned senior?
Yeah, so we'll give a shout out to Clifton, one of our longtime Warbird kids. He just committed to transferring to Tulane University after he completes this season of junior college baseball. He's a sophomore, entering sophomore year this year. So, and for him as a senior, where he really started to like hit his stride, he went from like low to mid 80s to mid to upper 80s. He went to like 10 different schools that fall, entering his senior year. So, for him, yeah, those showcases were very relevant because all those schools had like maybe seen him a little bit in the summer, or heard of him through the grapevine, and just maybe didn't get a chance to like add him to their recruiting schedule. So when they settled down, they're like, okay, we need you to come out. Like, we're interested. Can you come throw for us? So he was throwing for a new school every week. It was pretty crazy. So in that case, yeah, we've had a bunch of kids recently. Nick from our program committed. Will committed yesterday. So big shouts to those guys. Trevor committed. So we've had a lot of commits recently, and some of them threw and like did the fall showcase thing and went to schools, but others just like, it was just okay, they'd seen them in the summer and it kind of just evolved, and then they finally made their commitment. But yeah, it can definitely have merit, but for the younger kids, it's just like whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, and well, the other thing that's brought up was, we started talking about how obviously it's pretty much come out in the wash that like overuse is the reason that people get hurt. Well, one of the biggest reasons that people get hurt playing baseball.
That and Manny Machado.
Right. And so the thought experiment that we kind of were talking through is, okay, well, let's say that you had a kid that you knew was going to be a guy. So it's the son of Nolan Ryan and Jenny Finch or something. And you go, all right, we have this baby's going to be built in a lab, and we're going to have a strength coach, we're going to have a pitching coach, we're going to have a biomechanist, we're going to have a nutritionist. Like, we're going to have this team of people whose mission it is to get this kid to the major leagues, have him pitch a major league career, and not get hurt. Then obviously the spoiler alert is you're probably going to get hurt playing baseball. But it was like, okay, well, let's say we could, from the time this kid starts throwing a ball, we could monitor his arm health, his fatigue levels, his nutrition, his sleep. And when there comes a time where he's supposed to pitch and he's not optimally ready to pitch, let's say you could shut him down. And you did that over the course of a lifetime. Could you maybe protect this kid from injury? And it's like, okay, maybe. But then the other question was inevitably, is that kid going to suck at playing baseball? Because it's part of getting good as a pitcher, pitching. And I think there's a very, very strong argument to be made for that. I was always kind of curious to hear what your thoughts on that are.
Wait, so you're saying if you made him in a lab like Ivan Drago?
Yeah. If you just had complete control, you could control all the confounding variables. Which, again, this is a thought experiment. You can never do this, but let's say you could, and you can control all those variables, because you can make the argument that one of the ways that people get hurt is they.
But then he's in the major leagues, and the Blade Runners are going to come after him.
Well, yeah,
he's going to be on the mound, and Ryan Gosling. Probably with Harrison Ford just lurking in the background, just nodding. They'll just come for you.
Yeah, they're just sitting in the front row. Yeah. You see him.
And here comes the 2-2 pitch. Oh no, he's turning in a shockingly fast sprint to center field. Leaps, climbs the batter's eye. He's out of the. Okay, I don't know what that's about. He's being pursued on foot by a man in a hovercraft.
Wait, I thought he was on foot.
Well, he was on foot. The hovercraft. I assume at this point.
He needs to utilize his hovercraft.
At this point in history, the Blade Runner would have some sort of fold-up laptop that converts into a hovercraft.
Okay.
So it's just he takes his laptop.
He starts out on foot and then throws his laptop.
No, the pitcher's on foot.
Oh.
He just picks up he just calmly waits there. He just picks up his laptop, hits the button, and it converts into a hoverboard. He hops on, and then
zooms after.
Oh, yeah, that's how this all plays out.
Yeah.
They'll call it Blade
Spike Runner.
Yeah. Any of those, pitch runner, Blade Ball,
Blade pitcher, Blade Ball.
Anyway, it'd be the worst movie of all time, but I lost my train of thought.
Okay, I figured you probably did somewhere along the way.
Where am I?
So
I don't know.
Okay, well, that's a podcast, everyone.
I don't know. I mean, you can control people and you can control those variables, but at the end of the day, it's not just to use myself as an example, but, I think uninformed people like to point out, oh, why would you want to listen to Dan? He got hurt a bunch.
Right.
It's your genetics are always going to play a factor, and you just can't control that.
Right.
There's different acromion types. So in your shoulder, people in internet world, you can, depending on the shape, the natural curvature of your acromion, which is like the tip above your shoulder, that big bone. If you grab your shoulder right now, that's where your that is what they call it, like your shoulder girdle, pretty much. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. But I don't know. You go a little more in depth about the acromion, Mister.
Well, so the
professor.
Where your acromion meets your clavicle is your AC joint, and yeah, that can have varying sizes and sharpnesses, I suppose.
And shapes, yeah.
And yeah, one of the things that tends to happen as you go, as you start to abduct your arm, you get into impingement at some point. And as far as I know, that impingement point is different for everybody. But impingement is just like where the bony structures of your arm will put pressures on the soft tissues.
And so the type 3 is the hooky, the hook-shaped one, right?
Yeah.
So like the type 1 and type 2 acromions are kind of flat, and there's like no issue. But if you have a type 3 acromion where it has a kind of a downward hook,
pointy,
you're just not gonna probably be very durable in your shoulder. Like you're not gonna handle
and like
that very well.
You know, I was this concept that you're talking about is always linked in my brain with. Weren't you telling me one time that you used to play with a guy who pretty much like didn't have a UCL, but he was so like jacked that he could still throw like really really hard without one?
Oh, so there were two guys, well no, I guess three now, who made it to the major leagues from my alma mater, UMBC. And one of them, he said, he's a big dude, Jay Watask, he's like 6'5", like just like country strong. He's probably 6'5", 250 when he played. He's like really big. And he said that, you know, they would get physicals every year when he was with the Oakland A's. And one year they were looking at his elbow, and he had like this big, like, kind of protrusion just on his elbow. Like, most pitchers, if you look at their elbow, like, looks not normal. Mine looks not normal, but they kind of did an MRI, and they're like, yeah, you know, you got some serious damage in your UCL. Like, we kind of suggest you just get Tommy John. Like, and he's like, no, like, I'm not hurt. I can pitch fine. And the dude, I mean, he's enormous, and his forearms are enormous. He's like, if I don't have pain, I'm not getting surgery. But he had like a mostly torn UCL from what he said, and just was fine because he had enough strength in his forearms and whatever, that was his body. But
through mid to upper 90s.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And just like the way that's possible is the muscles of your forearm are what kind of protect your elbow from gapping under really really high stresses. So if you're just really really strong, I suppose you can overcome connective tissue issues. It's a tissue issue. Connective tissue issues with just from being really really strong. Now that amount of strength, I don't know that you can go down into the gym and just get, like you said. I think there's definitely a genetic component to that.
Yeah, because like, it's not like if you tear your UCL, like you can just get your forearms super jacked and then just not get Tommy John and just be normal. Like he was not normal, but there's stuff like that happens, and whether it's good or bad. And then there's other people that just, their shoulders are just pieces of garbage, and they just have constant problems, like over and over and over. I mean, if you remember Rudy Cianez, he played for a lot of major league teams, but he had like 8 shoulder surgeries over the course of his career. And he was a Brave, because I was a Braves fan growing up, but he was constantly hurt, constantly getting his shoulder scoped out and coming back. But I don't know. I mean, some people have knee problems, and there's just like a litany of genetic things you could have that you really can't control for or account for. I don't know. Like,
and what I basically told those guys, which they're well aware of, especially the biomechanists, but it was just like, we've gone to a couple now baseball injury conferences, and it's like at the end of every single one of them, it's like, okay, well, here's what we know, but at the same time, baseball is super injurious, and you're definitely going to hurt yourself. And the more powerful you are, and almost like the better you are at the sport, meaning the harder you can throw a baseball, the more likely you are to get injured. So it's like, and I don't want to say it's 100%, but what are the chances that you make it from, you know, your first ball thrown as like a little 5-year-old to, you know, a 5-year career in the majors or whatever, and not get hurt? It's like that's a super duper small minority, if that guy even exists. I'm sure he doesn't exist. And specifically, I'm talking about like arm injuries, like you're gonna pull a hamstring and all that kind of stuff too. But the other thing that I thought was interesting was, you know, we were talking about because you know you were doing work with at some point of looking at monitoring guys' workloads, you know, and just being like, can we maintain a certain amount of workload on like a macro scale with little spikes in workload as you like go for an outing or whatever. And I thought it was interesting. Like, okay, let's say you've got your all-star pitcher. You're monitoring all this stuff. You're monitoring his workload and his, how fatigued he is, and is his forearm healthy? Is his shoulder healthy? And then there's a particular, he has an outing tomorrow, and you're doing your tests on him today, and you're like, oh wow, he's like a little fatigued. He like didn't get great sleep last night. Oh, and he's a little like undernourished. He didn't eat well. Let's bang his outing for tomorrow because his chances of getting hurt are higher, right, or something like that. And then you do that over the course of a career. The other thing we were talking about was like, okay, let's say we were to do that to a person, would they even get it? Would they even be able to log enough innings to be good at the sport? And the answer is probably no. Like, you have to pitch a certain amount to be good at pitching. And so that was another sort of like interesting, I thought, aspect to that little thought experiment.
Oh, thought experiments.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to know what's injurious and what's not. Like when they're pitching too much and when they're not. I mean, not from a pitch count standpoint, but we know pitch counts like haven't really done much. I mean, there's more awareness of pitch counts than ever, and there's more injuries than ever. So that's the thing it's annoying. Because you're like, well, okay, what do we do? Now we know that when you abuse players, like there's coaches still that basically do what they did to Nathan Eovaldi in the World Series.
Yeah.
That's definitely getting people injured. But when you're like sticking to the pitch count limits, I mean, kids still get injured. It's just not clear. They just don't know. And now, yeah, the Modus company, they have those arm sleeves, which I tried to use for our team last year, and they were just a logistical fail. They just didn't. They were so hard to have all of them charged, have all of them get synced, have them stay on the kids' arms. They slid down most kids' arms. They just like, it was just a really, really big hassle for us to get them to work. And if you're one person and you're super motivated to do it yourself, and you'll make sure it's charged, and you'll make sure it's synced, and you'll somehow make sure it stays on your arm, it doesn't slide around because the fit's kind of suspect, then it could work. But
the other thing is, even if you had been able to execute that flawlessly, you had those kids completely under your control for 10 weeks maybe.
Yeah,
lucky.
And the position player thing's hard because you can't. There was a certain amount of throwing I realized going on that I can't control this. Like they're gonna play the outfield, like they're gonna play the infield. Like I can't have a kid start on Friday and then he just sits till next Tuesday. Like that doesn't make any. That's not how youth baseball is. Like you play two positions. You pitch and you play the field and you do whatever else. And we didn't have kids pitch and catch, and we didn't do any of that stuff. But we did have kids pitch and catch. But if they were a catcher, they'd usually throw in relief only, or they'd have a start a couple days later or something like that. So we broke it up as much as we could. But they'd only catch one game a weekend if they were a starting pitcher for us. And again, they'd break it up. They never do on the same day. But there's just so many limitations that you just really couldn't use the data, at least from that. If you're in college, you could certainly use it. In pro ball, you could certainly use it.
Well, and your other point was just like, even from the first ASMI conference to the second one we went to, like, we know more than we ever have in terms of what causes injury, how to repair the injury surgically, how to rehab these injuries, but they still, it's not like injury rates are going down. Like, we're learning more than we ever have, but nothing is really changing all that much. And granted, we probably needs a little bit more time, but it's also like, I think it's just what it is. Like, it's just going to be like this.
I think we need like these little, you've seen them in like the Matrix.
Until we get nanobots, and then everything's fixed.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Oh yeah.
Like you just like insert them and they crawl into your body, and then they go in there. They just like monitor the damage. There's like a little wheelbarrow, or a little bulldozer.
Realistically,
stitched up
we
together.
can't be that far away from synthetically made connective tissue that's.
You can buy chicken tenders that are like grown in a lab now.
Yeah, and so and
some sweet chicken.
We're gonna be able to make.
What would you call those? Chicken cancers, like cancer.
Chicken cancers.
Cancer tenders.
Cancer tenders. But we're gonna be able to make. We're probably not far away from making connective tissue that's superior to human connective tissue, and nanobots are like a thing. Like CRISPR and nanobots are gonna be.
What's CRISPR?
CRISPR is a technology where. I can't remember what it stands for, but anyway, they can basically go in and edit genes now, so they can. There's like I've forgotten now what I read about it, but basically you can inject a little. I don't know if it's a virus or something, but anyway, you can give this little thing a message to say if you go find this gene and like cut it out, and it can go do that. And so they're doing that for, you can like, in the near future, you're going to be able to like customize babies and all kinds of stuff. So between that and nanobots, where you just like, you know, you have a rough outing and you a couple threads on your UCL go, you just send in the nanobots, they'll go back in and repair them.
Stitch it back together. Nice. Yeah, we need to do one of two things. I need to amass a massive quantity of money, so when the future comes,
I need to do that too.
I can experience it and like get like a new body or something.
Body hop.
I just need to like live life really good. So then when future comes, I'm like, like I'm good. I'll just die anyway. It's fine.
That's my plan. I'm just gonna make the next 20 years kick ass, and then be like, I don't need it.
I don't need your nano hoverboard.
That'd be cool though in the future car. If we could like, you get to be like 50 or something, and you start to feel old, and you're just like, I'm tired of this, and you go to drop like $500 million, and you're like, okay, you go to a body shop, a human body shop, and you just pick out a body. They transfer your conscience over, and you live another 20 years or whatever in that body, then switch over to another one. It's like buying a car.
Yeah.
Hate to backtrack, but also
there's a TV show on Netflix about that. It's really violent, super violent.
What's it called?
What are you called, show?
Show?
Yeah, it's super violent. It's in the future, and this is definitely coming too, which I enjoyed the premise of it. They implant this chip in the back of your spine when you're like 6 months old or something, and it just downloads your entire consciousness. So then if your body perishes, you can and that chip's intact, you can put it in another body. They call the new bodies sleeves, so you can get re-sleeved.
Weird. It's kind of weird.
And, but like the good sleeves, like if you want like a good body, like cost a lot of money.
Was that like carbon fiber or something?
Yeah, some with carbon in it.
Not carbon fiber.
Altered carbon.
Altered carbon.
Yeah. Very violent, weird, not appropriate probably for kids, but it was an interesting premise. And I think that's definitely coming, where you could like, I saw someone on Instagram yesterday, there was a guy he was a double arm amputee, and he was controlling.
I also saw that.
That's mind blowing.
That's insane.
That's amazing.
The future's now, people.
Yeah, and that's crazy. So they're gonna figure out eventually what like the language of our brain is and like coding of it, and just be like, we can download it and then just stick it in another body and it'll just wake up. And it's crazy. Or I'll just be a robot.
Man, sports are gonna be insane at that point.
I'll just be like a 70-year-old man
dying,
and then I'll just download myself into a robot, and I would just punch and destroy everything. Not people. I would just like go like punch buildings. It'd be like Rampage.
Yeah, it's gonna be very hard to keep structures maintained.
It would literally be like
when we have an army of robots just running around punching things.
As I know, as mostly parents listening to this, you probably played Rampage as a kid, right? Where you just like you're one of 4 destroyer
big
creatures.
Monsters.
Yeah, you're like erupt, and you just literally climb up a building and hold it with one arm and punch the building, and then grab the people out and eat them.
That
was the best game.
They came out with a movie about that.
Yeah, The Rock in it, I think. Yeah, why would you watch that? That'd be terrible. That was the premise of that game was awesome. I still play that if I go to a good bar, like 8-bit or 16-bit or some amount of bits.
56 bits.
The ones I'm going to give a shout out to the ones in Bloomington and Peoria. Your bars are terrible.
That's not a shout out. That's like the opposite
of
a shout out. You got them excited and then
no, they're terrible. I've tried to like them. I'm sorry, they're just not good. But 16-bit in Columbus,
that was great,
or Cincinnati, fantastic arcade bar. There's also another one in Kansas City that was really cool. Really, really big one, like very.
That was 32-bit.
It was at least 32-bit. Yeah, a lot of kilohertz too. Whatever. Great bit rate, but they just didn't do it right here in town. That's sad.
Yeah, to backtrack though, you talked about Nathan Eovaldi, because the Cubs kind of did that to Aroldis Chapman a couple years ago.
They didn't kind of do that. They did that, and I think they
it's
proved,
terrifying.
And we could get on a big tangent about this too, but it's just like, I don't understand, and I was tweeting about this and kind of complaining, and I felt like I was crazy. I'm like, you won, like for the Red Sox, you guys won 108 games in the regular season. Now you don't feel like you can trust any of your relievers except for like 2 guys. Like you can't pitch anyone now. Like how, like you have this whole organization that's analytically minded and objective and intelligent, and you're like, oh no, just put our best pitcher back in.
Yeah.
Like literally everyone was doing that the entire postseason. How does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because I just do not subscribe to the belief that if Clayton Kershaw's 100%, he's fresh, he's ready to go. He's one of the best pitchers in baseball, obviously, in the world. If Clayton Kershaw's 90%, he's still one of the best pitchers in baseball in the world. If Clayton Kershaw is pitching on 1 day rest, if he's throwing 6 innings on Monday and then you're asking him to throw 6 more innings on Wednesday, he's not Clayton Kershaw anymore. He's just everything that we can objectively measure with analytics, the spin rate, your command, all this stuff, velocity, he was clearly down. It's just it's not going to be there. Mm-hmm. And I just know from my time as a reliever, especially if I pitched today in relief, everything's great. If I then pitch tomorrow on back-to-back days, things start to get a little less great. I throw mostly the same speed. My command starts to get a little touchy. Third day, I don't have good command, and I don't have the same velocity, and there's other intangibles that are just not as good. Like my fastball that only has a spin rate of whatever, I didn't have data on it, but it was clearly different because guys just wouldn't swing and miss at pitches that they would swing and miss when I was fresh. Mm-hmm. And when you do that, you learn to pitch a certain way, and you learn to get out a certain way. You can't just magically adjust. Oh, all right, my spin rate's down today, so I'm going to do this. I'm going to be better this way. You have a sort of set of subconscious standards for yourself. This is how I get out. This is where I need to throw this pitch. But they don't work as well.
If you remember, that was very, very apparent with Aroldis Chapman in the World Series, where he went from 105 to 97, and he didn't know what to do. He had to go to a slider, and he couldn't throw sliders. Yeah. So it's what do you do? And then you just have to throw 98 in the middle of the plate, and you just get smashed.
Yeah, and you think, 97 is still relatively good compared to everyone else. Why can't Chapman just still pitch at 97? He just couldn't.
Right.
The way he pitched,
it's not his game.
The way he pitched, that didn't work for him. And I felt that at varying points in my career, where it felt unfair. Where there were other guys in college when I started throwing harder, I was 89 to 91. If I had a down day and I was 86 to 88, I just got killed. And then I'm this isn't fair. I still throw harder than Johnny and Timmy and these other 4 guys on the team, but they don't get shelled when they're throwing 84 to 86.
Right.
But it's because they learn to pitch at that speed. They learn what the margin for error is, how to get guys out of that velocity, and that's why you ask the question: how did some of these young phenoms come up throwing 97 to 100 like Kevin Gossman? Mm. He's not been good at the big league level yet. Mm. He's just starting to get good now. How can they not be successful being that good, throwing that hard, having disgusting stuff? It's because they just still they haven't figured out how to get outs with that stuff. And guys that throw 91 have.
Yeah, or it's when I was in Double-A, 98 at that spot, the guy swings through that pitch every time.
Yeah.
But when you go to the bigs and you're oh, here comes that 98 at that spot, and then it just gets taken in the gap, and you're wait, what?
Yeah, there's a learning curve. You have to figure out that I can't do that anymore. I can do this, or I get hurt. Mm-hmm. And so I just don't understand. It just didn't seem rational to me in the way that a lot of these pitchers were used in the playoffs. Dance with who brung you, right? The Red Sox were good enough to kill everyone all season, and they still kill everyone in the postseason. But David Price is closing games for you.
Yeah,
it just didn't make sense to me. Yeah. I don't understand.
Yeah, and then even wasn't that the last? Was it Game 5, the last one they won? Didn't Chris Sale close that one?
Yeah,
it's okay. I mean, Chris Sale was filthy. But...
Chris Sale's great, but it just. And I'm not saying in all scenarios that usage doesn't make sense. Chris Sale's fresh, and sure, throw him in
last game.
Sure, absolutely. But if it's we're gonna alternate Chris Sale, Evaldi, Chris Sale, Evaldi, Chris that just you're just not gonna end up having the results that you want.
Yeah, and just like you said, the if you're playing a video game and you got the energy meter, and it's all right, here's our bullpen and here's Aroldis Chapman, and it's Aroldis Chapman at 100%.
He's better than everybody.
90, 85. 84, 83, and it's at what point, at what energy level or freshness level is he not as good as your fresh number 2?
Yeah, there's definitely a point.
Yeah,
and that's I think a big thing about bullpen management, just in general, understanding how their stuff evolves as they get tired, and which pitchers can pitch through it too. Clearly Evaldi can pitch through it extremely well, and I'm sure Kershaw can too. And I'm not on the Kershaw can't pitch in the postseason bandwagon. He's clearly pitched well enough. You look at his track record, but I don't know. You just wonder then when he's making 7 starts in the postseason, what do you expect him to go 6-1? And that's just I don't know.
Well, and just there's always going to be regression to the mean, and that's David Price was the same way, where everybody's oh, David Price is the worst pitcher ever in the postseason.
He's good. You pitch the same way. It's still baseball.
Well, and you're going to look at and I understand there's a difference in postseason baseball, but you're going to look at the sample size from a David Price over the course of, however many games in the regular season, and then what was he, 0-13 or whatever? Is that like what he started at? And everybody's like, and then I think obviously he pitched lights out pretty much this postseason. It's like, it was going to happen eventually. Like, he's established himself as a good pitcher, and good pitchers don't just like magically become bad pitchers in the postseason. Like, I don't believe in that.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely there's definitely a mental component, sure, but at the same time,
also at the same time, you're literally talking about two of the greatest pitchers in the game right now. So it's like in Kershaw and Price. So it's like to tell me that they poop their pants in the postseason because they're like scared or something. I don't know. It's just kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
But I'm glad the Dodgers lost. And the other point of this was, there's like a bit of me that, like with the Cubs and Aroldis Chapman, they clearly knew they weren't going to sign his contract the next year, so they're just like, let's run this guy right into the ground. We don't care. And that's kind of like, I mean, he gets paid millions of dollars, so it's hard to feel sorry for him. But
yeah,
did he pitch well this last season? I wasn't even paying attention. He was with Yankees, right?
I think he did. I didn't pay attention either. Their bullpen was ridiculous with Britton, Betances, Chapman, and they had another guy who was like a up and comer. Who I don't remember his name because no one knows his name, but he was pretty good too.
That guy was good.
And David Robertson.
Yeah.
David Robertson's one of my favorites. He's really good. Good example of just like a professional, even like amongst professionals. I feel like he's just like the guy. He's like the guy you call.
Yeah.
Like going and do his job. Like, yeah, I like Robertson.
I also thought it was interesting. I'm just like thinking of random thoughts now. I saw somebody posted on Instagram. There was like this little video clip. Again, I didn't watch a lot of the games, but apparently there was a video clip of the camera shoot inside the Red Sox dugout, and Chris Sale was like MFing these guys about like how the hitters aren't hitting. Like you can clearly see he's like, this guy's got 2 pitches, and he's like yelling at all the hitters. I was like, dang, that's pretty ballsy that Chris Sale is just like. I mean, this is first year with the Red Sox.
I'm sure they have a rapport where he was like, I don't know.
He's the guy. I mean, it's hard to argue that Chris Sale's probably the most valuable player on that team, but it's just like, I thought it was pretty funny that he's trying to get everybody pumped up just by like getting in their faces.
Who was he referring to? Do you know?
I can't remember. It was the game. Apparently, the caption was like, the Red Sox put up like a whole bunch of runs that inning, so it must have been a game that they blew out. I'll try to look it up.
Oh, it was probably late where they put on. It went from like 4-3 to like 9-3.
Yeah, that's the game it was.
Gotcha.
I'll try to see who that guy was. It's gonna take me a long time to look up.
Look at the sports. You're like the lookup guy. We have like a table.
I know.
Like your computer. It's like can consult Google now.
I'm gonna consult Google.
Speaking of which, I'm listening to the book Everybody Lies.
Everybody Lies.
Have you read it?
I have not read this.
It's pretty interesting. I feel like it started pretty slow because I think I downloaded it like a couple months ago and I didn't get to it till just now. But it's just about how like we've been doing surveys for forever, but people constantly like lie to surveys or they're not honest with surveys. And of course he just used the words lie. Lie has a very negative connotation, but we basically like lie about all sorts of stuff to try to look more pristine and the way we want to look. But he talks about how he's mined, and I can't remember the beginning of why who he was, but he's just like mined tons of Google search engine data, all this other data to find out what people are searching for, which basically gives you an idea of like what, who they really are.
Yeah, they're looking for like...
And it's pretty fascinating. It's definitely worth a read. So if you're out there in podcast land, Everybody Lies. I posted a clip of it on my Snapchat the other day. It was really funny to me. He's talking about like how we even have data on like people's dating preferences, not just like sexual orientation, but just like what a good date looks like. Like what kind of dates do women respond to? What things happen on a date? Where it goes well, what kind of things happen on a date where it doesn't go well, like all this other stuff. So he's like talking very matter-of-factly, like a scientist would, I guess. Just like, he just talks about how dates go well when the woman talks about herself and when the woman talks about herself a lot. And just like, he kind of repeated himself, but he was just like, yeah, so from the woman's standpoint, when she talks a lot, she feels good. She feels like the man wasn't hogging the conversation, like is valued. And from the man's perspective, he feels good when the woman talks a lot because he feels like she's opening up to him and she's showing interest and all this other stuff. And it's just like, just kind of funny that it was like confirming that like
we get
women just tend to like to talk, which is fine. But I mean, people I think miss that. I mean, my college coach would always famously say, like, the number one thing people want to hear is their name. So you say, hey, Lucas, rather than hey man. But also just that people want to talk about themselves. Not like it's got such a negative connotation. It's really not. Just like people want to share who they are with other people that they like or want to like them. It's not like a sinister thing. But
it's not always
there's ego too. But
for sure. But it's also not always. What's the word I'm looking for? Not wanted. Like it's not always like. You want to be avoided. Like I know when I'm having conversations with people, I don't like talking about myself, and so sometimes I genuinely want the other person to talk about themselves because otherwise there's no conversation happening. So it's not like it's always like you need to avoid that like the plague either. Potentially talking about Dylan Floro. Is he a two-pitch guy? I don't even know.
He's a bullpen guy. Yeah, he was the one to give a bunch of runs, huh?
Yeah. Well, yeah. So that last inning, the ninth inning, they gave up a bunch, and there was like 3 different pitchers.
Yeah. Well, he had good numbers from the regular season. He wasn't a chump.
Yeah, well, there you go. They should have thrown Clayton Kershaw.
Yeah, Clayton Kershaw. It's like, come on.
Or how can Kelly Jansen throw another 3 innings?
Yeah, so I don't know. But, yeah, but anyway, pretty interesting book. Just piecing together, like they were saying, how they can put together how bad like flu season is that year based on how many people are Googling flu symptoms.
I feel like I might have heard of this book because there's like I've heard of that phenomenon kind of.
Yeah, so it's
that's kind of funny.
It's talking about racism and all this other stuff based on searches, and it's interesting, kind of funny. So,
yeah, Google has the power.
Yeah, but so good audiobook. Mediocre foam on our wall. Mediocre bullpen usage in the World Series.
Yeah.
But, decent audiobook. But I posted that on Snapchat, and I had a bunch of responses, and people were like, oh, yeah. Because I clarified that it was from a data book, not a dating book. Because when I screenshotted it... So
you misspelled dating.
I didn't, like, use the cover slide. I just, like, said screenshot. So it was funny. Anyway.
All right, well, those are all my questions. I've exhausted all my questions. Do you have anything else?
My coffee is not even done. This is weird. My La Colombe.
We're
only one day left into...
So I went to do Lasco the other day because I was getting
Did you get 100 of them?
Well, listen. So I went to go get pumpkin pie fixings, and I went to the La Colombe section, and they were mysteriously all gone. And so I was like, I wonder if I've come here... A day after Dan Blewett has.
One of them stopped stocking the triple, which is my favorite, the red one, which is just like a standard, like not flavor latte, but
I went to the one over here
more caffeine
on Veterans, and the only one they had I think was vanilla.
They stopped stocking. They're like, you know what, screw.
This guy's running us out of business.
I bought about 100 this month.
What?
Yeah.
100?
Yeah.
Jeez.
But they're buy one get one free, so that's only 50.
Yeah, you really only bought 50.
But the thing is, $3 is like normal, right?
I mean, $3 for a coffee drink is like...
you go to Starbucks, you buy any like bottled drink, $3 is the norm. These are usually $2.80 or $3. They're $3.25 at Hy-Vee. And they were buy one, get them free off of $2.80. So I got them for $1.40. That's cheaper than I could buy a coffee at like Kangaroo gas station.
Yeah.
Your boy. So I'm drinking one a day. I'm kind of staying at home a little more as well. So don't judge me, viewers. And they're delightful.
They are delightful. I was really sad because I had a peppermint one in my fridge like since last Christmas, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna drink that, and I was like, oh wait, I probably shouldn't drink this. I think it expired 6 months ago.
They actually expire once they're. I guess they probably do.
The peppermint one, if you're curious, peppermint one's probably gonna be coming out here pretty soon, and that one's delicious.
Yeah, that one's pretty good. And the mocha is underrated. I didn't want to get mochas.
But not a big mocha guy.
They're not that chocolatey though.
They're not
like sweet. They're like very dark chocolate.
Lost another
2 down. Lost another foam thing. It's the squares.
2 down, 30 to go.
More contact, yeah.
But no, they're not. And it's like, they're almost like, there's like 2 kinds of chocolate. There's like the sweet chocolate, and then there's like the kind of, not bitter, but
semi-sweet,
yeah. And they're like that.
They're very much semi-sweet, yeah. It's not like this is like, nothing like a Starbucks mocha.
I do like vanilla.
Like it's so semi-sweet that it's very similar, I think, just like to the regular one almost. So I'm glad. But the vanilla ones are kind of in my mind. I'm not the biggest fan of the vanilla. So I go triple. or mocha.
Yeah, we had to take a short pause to collect ourselves. But
yeah, we had a major. So in case you didn't know, last week we had some audio issues, which we're very sensitive to. We don't want that. So this week, now that we're in this new podcasting studio, and I've been sort of having to edit the videos more. We do 2 versions, so I have to extract the audio, yada, yada, yada. We decided that we would just record the audio directly into our audio recorder, which gives us the absolute highest quality possible, rather than running into the camera, and then sync the 2, which is like really not difficult at all. It was something I tried to avoid in the past because I thought it was kind of sounded sketchy to me. But it's really no different than extracting the audio. So, sure, we plugged in today to our trusty old audio recorder, and forgot to hit start.
yes.
So if this sounds terrible, that's because it's recorded on a terrible camera microphone, and we're going to try to clean it up, but we're probably just going to put this out there. It's not going to be staticky, it's just going to sound bad.
It's going to sound bad.
So, viewer, we appreciate you.
Hey, we'll be better next time.
We had the best of intentions, and it'll be great next time.
Yeah, we're going to, one of these days, we're going to figure out the exact setup, and then we're going to run with it.
This was going to be, oh man, such creamy, smooth, bassy sound this week.
And I'm still talking into this microphone, despite the fact that it's doing nothing.
Yeah. It's showing up on the thing.
Yeah.
It's doing that.
All right, well, this was episode 59 of the Twinsies podcast. We'll be
Goodbye.
better on 60.